Good evening. Welcome to the 351st edition of Talk of the Town. Time flies when you're having fun at PAC TV. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be the host tonight. Karen is taking the night off. And I want to thank you for tuning in. She'll be back next week. I have my list here that I have to read. You have to bear with me. Okay, so let's start off with some of our shout-outs. We have Stoll's Cafe and Manamet with delicious sandwiches, salads, and more. Evolution Salon. Karen says you should see the salon. It's beautiful with great service, but as you can see, I don't need it. Be sure to tune in to Brewster Wrestling with Computers and Wrestling Brewster from PC Solutions. How are you? Wrestling, good to hear you out there. Also have Trifletti and Costa, attorneys on Long Pond Road. And we have Jeff Cohen from One Stop Painting. How are you, Jeff? And the very first, but actually they were the second, but the very first, David and Kevin Gallerani, owners of Cape Auto Body and Service with locations at Somerset Street and Sandwich Streets right here in downtown Plymouth. Just as an FYI, make sure you put aside the September 6th and 7th for the Lions Great Oktoberfest on the waterfront. Stay tuned for more information. Now, to get this show going, we have a great lineup for you tonight. We have two very dedicated people from the Plymouth Animal Shelter. They're going to bring us up to speed on what's happening down there on State Road. And, when you ride by, at least you'll know what's happening, and at least you'll be able to put a face to the facility so that you could stop in and say hello and maybe stop by with something for some of their wonderful guests that they have there at the Pound. I want you to welcome to Talk of the Town. We have Lori and Joan from the Pound. Thank you, ladies, for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I didn't want to crucify your names, and I hope you don't mind, but I wrote it down once, and it's in the control room. You are Joan Anzalone.
Right.
And Lori, I'm sorry, I don't have that piece of paper. Stundis.
Right.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And on behalf of Karen and I, thank you for what you're doing for the pets. You're doing a wonderful job down there, and anything we can do to help you to further the cause, we'd be very happy to do that.
Appreciate that.
Now, I've got a whole bunch of questions, and then I have a whole bunch of questions that Karen has put together too. But let's just back up a little bit, and we'll go off of Karen's list first. Do you give us some of your background with the Pound? And I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first.
Okay, Joan.
I'm not at the Pound nearly as long as Lori. I started there as a part-time employee 8 years ago, and I was part-time for 6 years. And then now, for the past 2 years, I've been full-time animal control officer.
Very good. So when we call up with a problem with an animal, maybe in distress, or a problem with an animal, when we call the Pound, you'd be the person that would come out and take care of that?
One of the two of us would be.
One of the two. Okay, very good. Now, how about you, Lori?
I was a volunteer for 2 years, and then I became the animal control officer, and I've been the animal control for 29 years. Long time.
Wow, you're a part-timer, huh?
Yeah.
29 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah.
That's dedication. Thank you very much. Now, we know that you originally were going to be bringing pets, but we decided against it because it really wouldn't be a good environment here in the studio for 2 pets. So
Right.
we tabled that. We've got a board of pictures over here, a poster board. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll do it this way. And I'll just stay behind here. These are
Okay.
some of the pets that are down at the pound. And that's okay, guys. You don't have to scurry. We can do this again in a few minutes. But these are some of the pets that are available down at the pound. If you're interested in a pet, it'll be 508-888-1186. And if there's nobody there, they'd be able to leave a message? Yes?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get back
very
to them.
good. Now, I know where the shelter's located because back when I had a pet, my pet got very fussy and he didn't want his food anymore.
Okay.
So we had to go out and buy new food. So I went down there with a big bag of canned dog food. They thought the people that were in there thought I was giving up the dog. No. But anyways, I know where it's located. What is the address of the pound?
It's 2199 State Road.
Okay.
It's
and-
right next to the Cedarville Fire Station.
Yes.
Okay.
You're tucked in
Right
behind there.
Yep.
Now, when is the shelter open? Like, I mean, we go by, we don't know
Right.
when it's open. When is it open?
It's open 10 to 12. Then people can stop in. And there's usually somebody there 8 to 12. And then the rest of the day, we go by appointment.
Okay, so if somebody was to go by between 8 and noon time, there'd be somebody there.
Yes, there's
Yes.
usually somebody
Otherwise, they would call and make an appointment to
there.
come by.
It's best to make an appointment if they would like to see one of the animals,
Yeah.
because we like to get them ready. Maybe give them a bath, walk them a little.
Right.
Get them
Get them ready. Put on the best performance for them, you know.
Yes. How many, what's the capacity of the shelter as far as for being able to properly care for pets that you have with you,
Well, we can hold 20 dogs, and
but you don't want to?
no,
Right,
we prefer not to.
right.
Yeah.
Now, mainly it's dogs and cats?
Right. We do get an occasional ferret or bird or something else
Really,
in.
you get those in there?
Yeah, once in a
Yeah.
while something comes in, a rabbit. You know, we try to reach out to other organizations to help us to place it. And we have Ferret Rescue, which is actually local. Okay, so they're a big help to us. And Rabbit Rescue, Parrot Rescue. This, unlike when I started this job, there's so many rescues out there now to at least help, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cats are still very difficult to deal with, but the other unusual animals, pretty much, I can pick up the phone and make a call, and they have somebody to help, so it's good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, say I had a lapse in memory, and I decided I wanted to get a cat. Lapse in memory is I don't deal well with cats, so that doesn't make me a bad person. You know, I'm not a bad person, but it's just you know dogs and I get along very well. But anyways, if I wanted to come down and adopt an animal, a cat, a dog, what kind of a procedure would somebody have to go through to adopt?
Well,
Well, we normally ask the person over the phone, you know, do you have children, do you have other animals, what their circumstances are, because there's just so many. For example, a big black lab, it's jumping up, we would, be very careful. We wouldn't want to place it with small children. If it's jumping up, it might knock them over.
Okay.
If you have elderly people in the home, it might be difficult for them, might knock them over. You just ask their circumstances before they even come down. We want to make sure that we find the suitable home for a pet and, match them. Good match.
So you try to match them up.
Absolutely.
It's like a dating service. You try to make sure everybody fits together,
Right. That's the way it is.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
It narrows it down. No, really,
Yeah.
because they can come in and be overwhelmed by, say, looking at,
Yeah.
15 cats or something, when really there's only a
Right.
small percentage that they would even.
Yeah, it would fit into
Would fit
their
in,
their
yeah.
home the
Yeah,
best.
you know, the natural instinct is when you see a cat or a dog, you want to hug it, you want to pet it, and I can imagine if they came walking in and off the street and didn't have any pre-screening, I think it could be difficult because maybe some people wouldn't fit with a big Labrador or
Right.
Golden Retriever or
Right.
something like that. It's just way too much.
Right. And also some people have allergies, so I mean we may want to place them with like for example, a dog like a Bichon Frise that has hair instead of fur. I mean, so there's different qualifications,
Yeah. Now, I want to go over to the general information that you were kind enough to provide me with, and thank you very much because I don't know what questions to ask somebody who's rescuing pets and putting them up for adoption, and thank you for your help with this. But what are the general duties that you both encounter on a day-to-day basis at the shelter? What are the general duties that you have to perform?
Well,
Go for it,
in
Joan.
addition to taking care of the animals that are there, there's a large volume of phone calls because in addition to it being a shelter, we're also animal control, so it's not just taking in and adopting pets. You have a lot of complaints, people calling with various complaints, barking dog complaints, or somebody was bit by a dog, or loose dogs. Or, for example, if an owner has passed away and there's nowhere for the animal to go, things like that. So there's a lot of things other than adopting out animals. It's 50-50 really.
Right,
The time
and
is split.
Animal rescue calls that we get too, animals getting themselves in some type of jam
Right.
that they need help to
So
get out of.
as animal control officers, then I guess what I want to say is you guys really work 24/7,
Well, no, not
No.
not exactly 24/7.
but you respond to telephone inquiries about difficult if an animal's having a difficult time. I mean, you're the person who drives the van and shows up at
right.
the door.
Do the calls. We
Right.
clean the shelter. I do the Facebook page and the pet finder.
Oh, that's you that does that.
That's me. Yeah.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
That's
pet of the
great.
week.
Yep. Pet of the week. Been doing that for a long 29 years.
With the modern technology that we have nowadays, do you find less and less lost dogs? With the microchips and the things that people have implanted in their animals, does that help or does
Honestly,
it not help?
I have a modern scanner, and I've gone over some dogs that they claim have a chip in them, and they'll say, the dog has a chip, and I have not found the chip, so I'm concerned about that. And the vets put them in different spots. Used to be right in the back here, always the same spot. Now they're like, oh, well, my dog has a chip over here on his left side. And I scanned the whole dog, I didn't find it. And, this might be a defective chip. So I do have concern about that,
Yeah.
definitely. And a
I
lot
know.
of pets go missing, especially cats, and they hardly ever show up again when a cat is missing. People let them out, they get hit by a car. I think the coyotes get them. You know, all sorts
Yeah.
of things happen. I wish they would keep their cats inside, you know.
It's a very interesting. You brought up something that's not on here, but I've got a story that I need to tell about a cat. And we have this bird thing going on in our backyard. So because we have so many birds coming to visit us every day, all day, we have an occasional visitor in a four-legged feline.
Right.
This story is probably about 3 months old now. I saw a sign when I was out at the mailbox, a lost cat. So I said, gee, I talked to Karen. I said, wasn't this the cat that was at the feeder the other day trying to grab a bird? Yeah, I think it was. So I called up the individual who put the lost cat sign up on the pole. And this is the part that upset me. They said that they had rescued the cat from a shelter. And they were told when they rescued the cat that it was an indoor cat.
Right.
Don't let it out.
That's our policy, indoor only. Yep.
And they let the cat out.
Right.
So I called them 2 or 3 times to come over and get the cat, and by the time they showed up in my backyard, the cat
was
had
gone.
run off into the woods.
Yeah.
So the signs are still up for the lost cat, and the lost cat's still coming in my backyard.
Oh. That's too
So,
bad.
I mean, when people, sometimes I get very frustrated because I think some people just don't get it.
Right.
If my sister-in-law, she's got a cat, she never lets the cat out. It's
Right.
a house cat.
That's how they live to be very old. If you
right.
take good care of them and
Yeah,
they stay in the house.
she brings it to
you
the
know?
vet, she gets it shot, she takes real good care, and
Right.
that cat was born of a litter from a feral cat.
Oh my.
And Karen and I were amazed that she did so well with this cat. But the cat it's a handsome cat, and he gets by the window and he sniffs through the screen. He's inquisitive as to what's going on outside,
Sure.
but she won't let him out. If she
Right.
does take him out, he's on a leash.
That's a good
I
plan.
wish that's how all cat owners were.
I know.
Yeah,
They just let them out.
I didn't mean to go off. I'm sorry.
Well,
Now,
That's part of the screening process when people come in. We do have a lot of people that will say, well, I've had a bunch of cats. And I'll say, well, what happened to them? Oh, I don't know, they went missing. And that's my first clue that I really don't want to give you a cat.
yeah,
You know, and we do a veterinarian check to confirm the information that they give us is truthful. So you can't come in and say, well, I had a cat for 15 years and, you know, I make a call and the vet says, I never saw a cat. You know?
Yeah.
And it happens sometimes, you know. Yeah.
it brings up another story of the first time that Karen and I purchased a dog, and it was AKC registered dog, and it was a pup. He probably weighed, I don't know, 16, 18 ounces when we paid for him, but we couldn't get him until we passed
Right.
all of the checks to make sure that we hadn't done something wrong, that we were the kind of people we were saying we were
Right.
before this breeder would give us the dog.
That's an excellent breeder because
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
good
all
to
do
hear.
that.
No?
No, they don't. I would like to add that there is a rescue group for almost every type of dog out there. So if anybody would, you know, prefer to get an adult dog, they can call the rescue or go online and find that particular rescue group for that type of dog. You know.
Now they can get this information if they were to contact you, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
that's at 508-888-1186.
Right.
And you also, I remember there was something at yahoo.com, wasn't there? Was that you?
That's my email address.
Yes, would you tell
Yep.
everybody? Walter has it in the graphics and he can
Okay.
throw it up, but why don't you give the folks at home
It's Plymouth Animal Shelter at yahoo.com.
and they can get you there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Now, You get a cat in, or you'll get a dog. What are some of the programs that you have in place for cats or dogs that may need to be spayed or neutered? What is it that you do for that over there?
Well, we have several local vets that we work with, and fortunately they do give us a discount on the spaying or the neutering. Some people choose to use their own veterinarian, and they do have that option, but they need to leave a $30 deposit. That's a state law, and then they can get their $30 back when they show the proof that they've fixed the animal.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people that call us and question regarding help with this animal that they already have, and there's several programs in the area, including the Spay Wagon of the Animal Rescue League, and they make it affordable for everybody, you know. And I mean, there's been several cases where a cat had many litters of kittens, and I was able to, you know, hook them up with some Humane Society to even get free spaying, because it was so important to get the cat done, because they were on like their 5th litter, and you know, they couldn't afford it. So.
Now, you handed me some materials, and we did the best we could to get them into the system, but
Didn't
it
work,
just
huh?
didn't work out.
Okay.
Can you remember the one about cats and
I know after
if you didn't neuter your cat, what would
right,
happen?
after 8 years of the cat tree, okay, the overpopulation tree, it would be over 2 million cats.
Would you say that again, please?
After 8 years, if you started out with 2 cats and they continued to breed, okay, the scenario would be after 8 years that you would have over 2 million cats. It's something like 2,007,000 cats. And this type of situation could happen. You see it mostly if you're driving down the road and you see a free kitten sign.
Yes.
This type of person that puts a free kitten sign up, okay, and year after year, or actually every few months, they can have another litter. And this is the scenario that you may encounter because of that. And with so many cats in the world, for the humane societies, it's just impossible to keep up with that many cats. It's impossible, you know.
Would you entertain a question from a member of the crew?
Sure.
Okay, you're going to have to come in so that you can be heard, Stevie.
Hi, thank you. I have 2 questions, if you don't mind. One is, if you have to go and pick up a dog, a dangerous dog, what happens to the dog? Does this get put in quarantine, like if he's bitten somebody or attacked another dog? And do they go before the selectmen for a meeting on a dangerous dog? And the second question I have is, do you respond to, like, I know one year we had 2 baby raccoons, you know, flying around our backyard, and my wife called the MSPCA, and they come down and pick them up. But do you respond to animals like raccoons, or do you do wild animals like that, or you just do dogs and cats?
Yes, we
Thank
do
you.
all sorts of wildlife. Okay, we rescue wildlife all the time, and we bring them down to, there's 2 places we bring them, either New England Wildlife Center in Weymouth or the Barnstable Wildlife Center, and they have all the proper permits, so we're kind of like the delivery service, and they have veterinarians on site, and they determine if the animal is sickly, what's wrong with it, or if it's, you know, something that unfortunately may have to be put to sleep if it does have rabies, or it may possibly just have been, you know, dislocated from its mom or something like that.
Right.
So they make the determination on that. As far as the animals, the dangerous dog, if we go out on a dog bite call, we put a 10-day quarantine on the dog.
Okay.
And, you know, there's different circumstances for different dogs, okay? If it's a dog that just got out once and it's a regular dog bite, we put the 10-day quarantine, we check on the rabies shots for the dog, and we make sure that dog is permanently restrained from that point on. And we issue citations for the leash law violation, and we, you know, make sure, check on all the shots. And I usually monitor that type of situation. We'll do drive-bys, make sure that they're, you know, cooperating with the permanent restraining order on them. There has not been too many dogs since I've had the job that we had to go for a hearing at the town hall. There's been a few that unfortunately the dogs were deemed dangerous. In some cases they were put to sleep or transported to like a relative or whatever. But each circumstance is,
It's different.
exactly. Yeah.
I didn't know that you would pick up raccoons.
Yeah. Yeah, we pick up
Really?
everything. Yeah, I mean, yeah. One that comes to mind, there was a skunk in the downtown Plymouth, and he had a glass jar on his head. I'll never
I remember
forget
that.
it. You
Yeah,
do?
I
Oh.
saw video of it. Somebody took video of it.
So he had this jar on his head for 3 days, and it was all steamed up, And the poor guy, and I was trying to figure out what's the best plan for this. So first I ran up and I tried to pull it off, but it wasn't coming off. And I was thinking maybe I could break it in half, but I gave it one last attempt. I ran over, and there was quite a crowd, and they were back here, like, okay.
Yeah.
So I ran over, and I just grabbed that jar, and I sort of pushed on him and pulled it and ran, for the hills. And he started walking away, and he turned around. It's the funniest thing. And
He said thank you.
He lifted his paw up like this and sort of waved at everybody. There was about 25 people on
That's
there.
hysterical.
It was the funniest thing. I
That
never
should be on
forgot
YouTube.
it. Yeah, I never forgot it.
Oh,
yeah.
that was
But it's
very
important
good.
not to litter those things, like little yoga containers
Right.
and stuff, because those are the type of items that do get stuck on these, little
That's
small
right.
heads.
And the 6-pack and the 12-pack, the 6-pack plastic rings.
Yeah, those are very
yeah.
dangerous
Those
to
are
the
dangerous.
Yeah.
the sea life,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And we pick up a lot of seabirds too. you know.
Really?
Yeah. Seagulls
they-
are actually my specialty. Seagulls and cormorants. Yep.
Very good.
Yeah.
So now, what would you do with a seagull and a cormorant? What would you do with that bird?
Well, I transport them to the wildlife center if I have to.
Oh, okay.
They may have a hook in them, so I'll undo the hook. They might have a 6-pack plastic thing around their
Right.
head, and I cut it off. Or like I've had
Fishing line.
Yeah, the fishing line. They're hanging from a tree. The poor guy, he's got a hook in his wing, and all he needs is a little help. So I just grab him and take that off, and he's on his way.
Other times
Wow.
a bird can just like fly into a car or something,
Yeah.
or we don't know why, but there's just an obvious injured wing
Right.
that's just hanging.
Right.
Right.
A lot of
So
broken
we
wings.
transport them to the wildlife center for something like that too,
Right.
and they determine if the brake is, if they can fix the brake or what. So.
Right.
You guys are busy.
Right,
Very.
we're very busy.
Wow.
The idea with the wildlife is we don't want it to sit somewhere suffering.
Right.
Even if unfortunately it's transported to the animal hospital and they end up putting it to sleep,
Right.
at least it's not laying on the side of the road for a week, suffering. So, I mean, at least I feel like I've helped them in that manner,
Yeah.
Very good.
What can you say?
You guys are doing a wonderful job over there. Now, at this time of the year, one of my biggest beefs is people go shopping, and I used to take my dog with me wherever I went, always with me. And it used to irritate the crap out of me that people will pull into a parking lot and leave the dog in the car. Now, how many of these kinds of calls do you guys respond to in the course of the summer season?
Let's see, a couple a week.
A couple
A week?
Of, yeah,
Yeah,
a couple
it's
of week. And I think
ridiculous.
last year, maybe because the summer was warmer last year, or we had more hot days. I think we had even more calls on that last year. But yeah, I had one today.
It's ridiculous.
I had one today. There's at least, I would say, at least 2 a week.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Now, excuse me, this is one of the things that irritates the crap out of me. What happens to that person after you've had to technically save the dog or the
Right.
pet? What happens to that person? They get a
Right.
warning, or
Most of them get a warning. It's very difficult to prosecute somebody for cruelty for that type of issue. I had one last summer that she left the little dog in the car with the windows rolled up for, I think, 2 hours. She was at the restaurant, so we got the dog, brought her to the shelter, and what I did when she picked the dog up, I notified the Animal Rescue League, and they brought her to court. And, you know, it was quite a process, and she was very upset. And to be honest with you, I could tell she loved that little dog very much. And I couldn't understand. She said, well, I forgot. I was in shopping, and, you know, I wanted to get a sandwich, and I didn't realize the time went by. And, you know, I said, you're very lucky that your dog survived this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one this year, and the little dog had a cone around his head. He was going to be going in for surgery soon, and when I got there, the whole cone, I mean, the whole face and everything was just dripping.
Yeah.
And but the lady truly loves her dog. She didn't.
Right.
She just didn't. She wasn't aware
Most,
of how hot the car can get in a short
Right.
amount of time. When you leave the car, you know, if it's 80 degrees out, you know, 10 minutes later, the inside of that car can be 120 degrees. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Most people that have their animal in the car with them, they love that animal.
Yeah.
So it's
They're
kind
not
of a difficult
intentionally.
situation.
Yeah. It's not like somebody, you know,
Yeah.
causing harm intentionally. They don't even realize what they're doing.
Right.
So they just have to be educated on it, really.
Right.
Now, the two of you were a little nervous as we started off. Are we okay now?
We're good.
We're good.
Good? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, I could keep talking. I'm very sorry to say that time is nigh. So is there anything that you would want to say to the public out there relative to the adoption center? And if you want to, you just look at
Sure.
that red light over there and go to it.
Okay. If you want to adopt an animal, feel free to give the shelter a call. We do take donations of food, blankets, bowls, collars. We're looking for volunteers to help with the dog adoption program. Let's see. Please be courteous to your neighbor and understand that your dog needs to be contained in your own property so that you're not disturbing the neighborhood. And your cat should be left in the house so that it does not disappear permanently. And that is what happens with many cats that are left outside. So please keep your animals on your own property. And I guess that's about it for me.
Well, ladies, this has been a joy. Joan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laurie, nice to meet you.
You
Just
too.
sit right there now. Look, folks, we're gonna. There you are over there. No, now you're over. Where are you? You're there. We're gonna be going into the next segment of the show. Andrew Botieri is coming up next, and I want you to pay some close attention to these public service announcements that are going to come your way while we swap out our guests. Thank you very much. Go for it, Walter.
Standish Humane Society is a volunteer-run, donation-funded animal shelter located in Duxbury. We rescue stray and unwanted cats and find forever homes for them through our adoption program. At any given time, we have between 40 and 50 great cats available for adoption. We also offer a reduced-cost spay-neuter program for both cats and dogs. This program is designed for individuals who qualify for financial assistance. At Standish Humane, we speak for those who cannot speak for themselves.
Communities Mobilizing for Change on Alcohol, CMCA Plymouth, is an underage drinking prevention program of High Point Treatment Center, funded by the Mass Department of Public Health. Too many teens are drinking alcohol, and parents, friends, brothers, sisters, and strangers are making it easy to get. If you want to help CMCA Plymouth reduce access and the availability of alcohol to youth under 21, contact us. Prevention saves lives.
Hello, I am Christopher Hart from the Nathan Hale Veterans Outreach Centers. We are committed to serving our veterans through free programs for veterans and their families. Our programs include transportation to and from the VA facilities in Brockton and Boston, a wellness program that offers arts, yoga, cycling, readjustment counseling, PTSD counseling, and a food pantry, and much, much more. If you would like to help, or are in need of these services, please call us at 508-747-2003.
The Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce is a business organization of roughly 750 members across the Lower South Shore. We exist to serve not only local businesses, but the community at large. We offer a variety of business networking opportunities by being a strong voice on local and regional business issues, by offering educational seminars and special programs to our members, and by developing and supporting economic development initiatives that improve the overall quality of life in the region. The Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce, it works for everyone.
The Percy Walker Pool in Duxbury, Massachusetts is a public indoor pool that serves the South Shore. As a part of the Recreation Department, our mission is to deliver excellent services to the community. The Percy Walker Pool offers public swim times, swim lessons, American Red Cross programs, and many private swim programs. For more information on the pool, class schedules, membership options, and fees, please call or visit our website.
Standish Humane Society is a volunteer-run, donation-funded animal shelter located in Duxbury. We rescue stray and unwanted cats and find forever homes for them through our adoption program. At any given time, we have between 40 and 50 great cats available for adoption. We also offer a reduced-cost spay-neuter program for both cats and dogs. This program is designed for individuals who qualify for financial assistance. At Standish Humane, we speak for those who cannot speak for themselves.
All right, I'll try that again. Welcome back. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff. I like to call this guy my friend because he's a very interesting man. I admire him very, very much. And why I admire him is he had a very debilitating, I call it debilitating, disease. And this guy's got guts. And he come back from it, and he's written a book about it. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Andrew Botieri.
Hey, Ken, good to see you again.
Good to see you, and thank you for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Well, always a pleasure spending time with you, whether it's here or as one of the three amigos.
Oh, yeah, and then Ernie's afterwards.
And then Ernie's after that, exactly, exactly. But thanks, I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that you're so willing to come in and talk about your book, and also to talk about scleroderma.
Okay, great.
Did I say it right?
You said it great. There's people that try and try and try, and they still get it wrong, but
well,
they at least try and make the effort.
I've been practicing all afternoon. So
wonderful,
Andrew. Why don't you, for maybe the one or two people that haven't seen this show, and that's. I mean, everybody has to know who Andrew Botieri is.
Well, or they have to know who Talk of the Town is. Let's put it that way.
Okay, we're both throwing each other roses.
All right,
but,
all right.
Why don't you tell people about the changes that have happened in the past 6 months?
Well, great, appreciate it. I had written this book and actually published it in 2012 after close to 7 years of writing it, mainly because of the fact that I didn't want to write the book, and I had people telling me I had a great message, still didn't want to write the book, and eventually succumbed to all that pressure and wrote the book. I attended last July in Atlanta the National Scleroderma Education Conference, and the autoimmune disease that I have, and though it's been inactive for almost a little over a decade, is scleroderma. Literally, the Greek terminology would be hard skin. It's an autoimmune disease. They don't know what causes it, and up until even today, there is no cure for it. When I went to the conference last year, which was mainly for patients, education conferences, that I actually got to speak, and here's the book here. As you can see, it's I've got a medallion on it now because it's an updated forward to the book, and which is about another 10 pages of just updating what has transpired since I published the book in 2012 to just within 2 years. A lot of the different new therapies, new medical procedures, that have resulted from all the research that's been being done. One of the biggest research areas is actually up at BU Medical Center, where my doctor, Dr. Sims, who is a rheumatoid arthritic specialist, they're always trying to find breakthroughs, and they've actually come across some very wonderful breakthroughs from things. For instance, one of the areas, I have systemic sclerosis, which means that the scleroderma not only showed itself on the outside of my body, but could also go internally. And it's different for everybody. Some people may just show symptoms of hard skin like I had in my fingers, but I've had a couple friends of mine, and as I mentioned last couple weeks ago when we were on Three Amigos, that a very dear friend of mine, Marie Reed, who is from Plymouth, she actually succumbed to it because it got into her lungs, and she couldn't hold on for a transplant. But I did have a friend of mine, Linda from Connecticut, originally from Hanson, Mass. She got it into her lungs. She had a lung transplant, and because of the new drugs that they have been finding through research, they've been able to actually find some drugs that actually help the body to accept that new organ, where a lot of times you hear a transplant, the body rejects it, to the point where not only is she back on her feet, and she's got a long way to go. I mean, it took me a year to get back on my feet. But now she's actually a mentor, which is awesome, for people who are also going into this surgery, so she can say to them, hey, I had this is what I went through, and this is what you can expect. So just that alone, I think, is phenomenal. There's also been one of the side effects, if you will, of scleroderma is what they call Raynaud's, which is Raynauds. And I have it in my hands, basically because of the collagen. And again, let me just quickly back up. Your body thinks it's under attack.
Right.
So your autoimmune disease fires off, and your body overproduces collagen. So when you cut yourself, and the scar tissue that forms from whatever cut you may have, that's actually collagen.
Oh.
So your body senses that there's it's under attack, and in a hand wound, a cut, arm, or whatever, that the body says, I'm under attack.
Right, exactly.
So it sends the collagen there along with other proteins to help whatever is wrong with that individual. But our bodies think we're constantly under attack, so it overproduces the collagen. The collagen gets into low density areas of the body, mainly in the hands and the feet, and then it actually starts to harden or crystallize. Again, scleroderma, hard skin, the Greek word for that. So the Raynaud's is something that we're afflicted with. I have another good friend of mine, Linda from Marshfield, who also has it. And during the wintertime, it can be pretty uncomfortable and very painful for some people who are living with scleroderma. Mine isn't as bad, but I have to wear, once the weather starts to turn and it gets a little cool, I constantly have gloves with me, whether I have them on or not, but I'm at the ready to put them on.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I was supposed to play a couple weeks ago, and I had to cancel that because I actually ended up getting, as you can see, that little...
Oh, yes.
At first, I thought it was a blood blister, but it actually turned out to be an ulcer, because one of the things that Raynaud's does is it can also cause ulcers under the skin. And I saw Dr. Sims last Friday, and we were talking about it. And one of the things that I garnered from the educational conference in Atlanta that was not really talked about 14 years ago when I first came down with the disease is that they're now talking about how stress can be a trigger for it. 14 years ago, Dr. Korn, who was my doctor at BU Medical at the time, I had mentioned to him about how stressful. I was doing a startup.com, vice president of sales operation. I was working 70 plus hours a week. I was a maniac. Just everything 7 days a week, all about work and not about taking time out, relaxing, getting rid of the stress that we all keep within ourselves. So as I was talking to Dr. Sims last Friday, we were talking, what's happened different in the past, few months. And what we kind of probably pieced together was that, my mom was diagnosed in November of 2013 with lung cancer, and she passed away on June 7th, this past 2 months ago.
Sorry, Andrew.
Actually, 2 months ago tomorrow.
Sorry.
Wonderful, wonderful woman. And have to also give a shout out to my dad, who died in November of 2009, but today he'd be 86 years old. Today's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
So happy birthday, Papa. And so So we think that because of all that stress and just, bringing her home from the nursing home, helping her pass at home versus wanting to pass, and we were sleeping on couches, my sister and other siblings were just doing a fantastic job we're trying to take care of her, that they think this is stress related. It's now starting to feel much better. So my next music gig is at Friday night, August 29th at the Pilgrim Sands Motel. So knock on wood, and my novenas, I'll be ready to go and play.
I thought you played with a pick.
I do. These are the string fingers.
Oh.
If I was left-handed, then I'd be like, if I was like Paul McCartney, I'd be like this, but
okay.
I'm not.
Well, you're Paul McCartney to me.
I wish I had 5% of his money.
I wish you did too, because I'm sure you remember your friends.
I would remember my friends. So that's really what, the book I wanted to really talk about. Some of these new therapies is also for those people that do get Raynaud's really bad or get the, I've had some friends of mine. I met two beautiful women, young ladies from San Francisco at the conference, and they've actually had some of their fingertips removed because of the ulcers.
The ulcers.
And they turn gangrene.
Really?
So for the last month, or 3 weeks ago, when this first started to come down, in my mind it was like, gosh, is the scleroderma rearing its head again?
Is there more stress involved for you?
And it was very, just some sleepless nights, but through prayer, which is one of the reasons why I'm alive today, and just constantly asking God to put His healing hands on me. We got good news last Friday, so I was pretty excited about that.
I'm happy for you.
Same here, man.
I'm very happy for you.
Thanks.
Now, the real brains behind Talk of the Town.
Where is she?
Is watching on television.
Hey, Karen.
Now, she gave me a whole bunch of things that I'm supposed to ask you.
Okay.
All right? So if we've already covered it, you can just answer me with...
Couple. Okay. Sounds good.
We'll get your medical history, you know that. Karen wants you to tell us 5 lessons that you've learned.
Okay, well, it's I've learned a lot of lessons, but I think some of the major ones. The first one is, and we've all heard this. I mean, it's like such a cliche, but it's something that we talk about, and it's sort of like we procrastinate on it. But one of them is stop and smell the roses, or I'd like to actually re-term that and say stop and grow some roses.
Ooh, I like that.
So that you actually are involved in it. I live in a condo, beautiful condo, and I grow tomatoes, herbs, because I love to cook. And so to me, that's very therapeutic for me. So, stop and smell the roses. It's extremely important that we appreciate, where we are in our life, what we do in our life. And so, that's one of the big ones, is really looking at, what are we, here for? And because we live in such a chaotic lifestyle, we're always on the go. We never take. I remember as a kid, we used to go over to the neighbors and we'd sit on the front porch for hours, just talking to our neighbors. We don't even, when we drive by our neighbors today, we don't even toot the horn. We're all in such a busy involvement in our lives and everybody else, and that's only been 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how things. So stop and smell the roses. The other one is that we talked about one time. You got to give back.
Oh yes, we talked about that.
And you had the ladies here from the Plymouth Pet Adoption.
Right.
And that to me, I mean, theirs, you could tell from their interview today, it was a labor of love that they do. But whether it's that, I mean, when I first moved here to Plymouth from Scottsdale, and I had to get back on my, like I said, it took me a year to get back on my feet. I really wanted to give back mainly because, God gave me a second chance. And I figured that, that's something that you don't take for granted.
No, you don't.
And so I became a member of the retired senior volunteer program, even though I was the only one who was south of like 60 years old.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Way south.
Anyway, and so in doing that, I ended up being able to. I was a reading tutor. I was a reading tutor for second graders at Nathaniel Morton School. which ironically, my godmother and the mother of my namesake, Andrew Lewis Balboni, she actually went to high school there when she first moved here from Plymouth from Italy.
Like old home week.
And it was amazing. So I'm walking through the
whole
halls.
Family's there.
Pretty much. I mean, pretty much so.
Right.
So that's the other thing, is give back. And even if it's, money's great to donate you money, and I do that as well, but give up your time. There's so many, especially here in Plymouth, there's so many opportunities. We just had our scleroderma walk on June 22nd down on Nelson Beach, and we actually had one of the troops, and I forget the troop, but it's Mr. McCormick's Boy Scouts troop. But they've come for the last 3 or 4 years, and they volunteer their time to help us clean up after our walk.
Isn't that great?
And they enjoy it. They come there and go, what can we do?
All right.
So really look to volunteer. Parents, if you volunteer for your children's sports, that's great. One of the other lessons is to create balance. Again, our lives are so out of control that we really need to carve away some time. What I do in the mornings, weather permitting, because if it's raining, I don't get a chance to do it, but I'll go out on my deck with a cup of coffee at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning before, as I get prepped to go to work. And I'll just have a cup of coffee out there for 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll just think. I'll just appreciate. I'll validate why I'm here. I'll, thank the good Lord for another great day.
Right.
And even just that 5 or 6 minutes just puts, I got a deck where I can see I can see the pond I live on. I can see all the trees and the birds and the squirrels, and I just soak it in for just 5 minutes. So if you can just whatever it is, and find peace and harmony within yourself for 5 minutes a day, you'll be amazed at how that can really transform you, as an individual, and help to sort of, again, get rid of some of that stress. Because, 80% of the stress that we have in our lives, we put there. It's self-induced.
The more I talk to you, and it seems though I talk to you more than Karen does nowadays, but the more I talk to you, the more relaxed you are. And I've noticed that, and I think this is the 3rd or possibly the 4th time you've sat with me on Talk of the Town.
Yes.
And every time you're more relaxed. So you are living what you're telling everybody out there to do. You're relaxing, except for the ulcers.
Yeah, one. Just one. I'll take that one.
But I mean, and that caused some stress. But evidently the relaxation is going hand in hand with your recovery, shall we say.
And, stress is, in my opinion, and I've had this discussion with doctors before, that stress is sort of that unknown trigger. And there's more and more research being done on stress. So, the children that have, all these diseases and allergies and all this stuff, blood diseases, and even younger adults, I feel there's a trigger in all of our bodies, and stress is the one that fires it off. Matter of fact, one of the areas that I wrote about a little bit in the new foreword of the book is that for the first time I've heard it was actually last year when I was in Atlanta, is now they're actually looking at juvenile scleroderma. Typically it's between the ages of 25 and 55. 1 out of every 4 people who get it happen to be male. But now they're finding more kids are now starting to come down with it.
Oh boy.
And have symptoms. I mean, there's been even infants.
Oh boy.
So, and they still don't know exactly what causes it. And just 2 of the other quick things. The other 2 are family traditions. I'm big on family traditions.
Yes.
And making sure that our traditions that we have from our family, whether it's something we cook or maybe a holiday that we participate in, that's your only connection to the past.
That's it.
And then the last one, obviously, is making a difference. I think we're all put here on the earth for a purpose and a reason, and that's to make a difference in the lives of other people.
Well, you do that in many ways, but I'm not going to be throwing bouquets at you because we don't
You might
have
knock
time,
me off my chair.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do. Now, we're coming really close to the wire, and I'm really sorry for that.
That's all right.
We all know that you're an accomplished musician. We know that you play in Plymouth, mostly over at the Sands and down on the waterfront with Mike Landis.
Yes.
And Mike does a great job,
Mike's
too.
fantastic guy.
He does a great job. Are there any other places that you play on a regular basis?
I play at the Marshfield Tavern. I do that maybe once every 6 weeks. And it was nice to actually have this past month of August. I actually had 3 weekends off, which was kind of nice for a change because I played for like 4 or 5 weekends in a row. And again, even that was one of my bucket lists. When I was laying in the hospital, not sure if I was going to make it, I made a whole bucket list of things, and that was one of them, was to play my music out. I'd been a closet guitar player for many years. And I talk a little bit about that in the book, as well as, the family traditions and stuff. And if anybody, is interested, I know we're coming down the wire, so I definitely want to get the plug in.
I want to get the plug in for the book,
Yeah.
and I do want to know if anybody wants to get in touch with you about your book, about your life, about scleroderma. Where do they do that, Andrew?
Yeah, they can go onto my website, which is andrewbotieri.com. That's B-O-T-I-E-R-I, so andrewbotieri.com. You can go on. I just revamped my website to the book's on there as well. You can go on and order my book. It is, and for every person that does order my book, I do a little inscription about the book as well. Also, if you do purchase the book, I do have a bunch of articles. It's an ebook on some of my most popular articles. I've written articles for over 20 years in national magazines. And so we've got, destiny is a matter of choice, not a matter of chance. We've got attitude, the fuel to accomplishment. Also, does your team have what it takes? So if you have an organization with your team, it actually talks about some tips and strategies that you can work with on your team. And there's 8 articles that it's a free ebook that if you do purchase the book, this book here, I do send you the ebook free of charge.
Wow, you got that out fast.
When I get the 2-minute warning, it's time to go.
Well, so we'll get your web address. Now, is this the same place where if anybody wanted to contact you by email, is this the same place?
So you go there, or just Andrew at andrewbotieri.com. That's my email address.
Okay.
And I actually have people from all around the country that I've met at different scleroderma events that I still keep in touch with, and a lot of them who are still unsure about the disease, or they're going through some tough times. A lot of people do call me, and we talk things through, and I try to give them some inspiration and some hope, because as the title of the book says, a celebration of life, a story of hope, a miracle, and the power of attitude. So I try to give them the hope and let them know that they've got to bring their positive attitude every day, because this disease at some point in their life, or as it was in mine, is stronger than us. We have to become stronger than it.
Andrew, there's no way I can top that. No way.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Way.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate this guy so much. We're going to run out of time before it's all over. But anyways, I want to thank my crew. I want to thank Andrew. I want to thank the ladies from the Pound. I want to thank Stevie. And I want to thank Walter for the 351st edition of Talk of the Town. Karen will see you in 7.